On today's episode, we are going to take a look at three stocks that I believe are a great buy right now. I actually purchased these recently, and on today's episode, it's going to be broken down to the following. First, we're going to do a quick introduction of each stock, what they do, revenue breakdown. Going to look at their future growth, their balance sheets, and at the end, we're going to take a look at their valuation and my overall thoughts on the business. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. It helps the channel out so much, and I truly appreciate it. Also, remember, none of this should be taken as advice, as I am not a professional. And before we go any further, go down to the comments right now and let me know what are some of the stocks you guys just purchased. It's great to share with the community. We might get ideas from others. While you're down there, don't forget to join the Discord channel. It's free to anybody that wants to join, and I always post when I buy there. Like I said, it's free to anybody, so make sure to check it out. And while you're down there, you should also see a link to Webull. If you sign up and follow the rules, we both could get a free stock. Sometimes they even have offers where we can get more than one free stock. All right, now that we got that out the way, let's get started with today's episode. All right, so the first company we're going to take a look at is Autodesk. It ended today with the closing price of $240.74. Right now, it has a market cap of about $52.8 billion, and year to date is up about 30%. If we take a look at its all-time highs right now, it is down about 8% from its all-time highs of the year. Right, there has been a bit of a pullback since September, and right now with the elections and all this volatility has also given some more of a pullback. It's not down that much compared to all the other stocks that I've seen out there right now. 7% is actually pretty okay, pretty decent. We've seen some down 12, 20% or so. One thing I do want to say, Autodesk, they have their earnings on the 24th of November, so later this month. So let's take a quick look at what Autodesk does, and the best place to check out is just go to the company's website. So Autodesk pretty much makes software for people who make things. So if, for example, if you're an architecture, an engineer, if you do some form of manufacturing, they mention here, if you've ever driven a high performance car, admire a towering skyscraper, used a smartphone, or watched a great film, chances are you've experienced what millions of Autodesk customers are doing with their software. So let's take a look at their most recent revenue breakdown, which was for Q2 of 2021. And this was, I think, ended August 25th, sometime in August, especially if they're doing their earnings on November. That sounds about right. We can see that they mainly have 4 products, and these products are all are the software. They're all softwares, but hit different markets. So the AEC is architect, engineering, and construction, and this is obviously the biggest market for them. It makes about $400 million, and that was up about 19% compared to the same time last year. Then we have AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT. This is pretty much their main software. This is $272 million, and it's up 18% compared to the same time last year. Then we have media and entertainment. This is their Maya, which is used for creating characters and modeling of characters. A lot of cartoon places and any media uses this, entertainment places use this. So this is 59 million, and it was up 4% compared to the same time last year. Then we have manufacturing, and that's 186 million, and that was up 6% compared to the same time last year. So we can see the biggest platform is their architect, engineering, and construction, and that makes sense, right? With all these buildings, all these skyscrapers, all this construction happening all over the world, that's the biggest market for them. All right, so next, let's take a look at their growth. And let me say this, Autodesk ticker is ADSK to all my podcast listeners if I didn't mention it earlier. Right now, we can see Autodesk is profitable right now, and it is expected to continue to grow its profits. The other thing we're seeing is it has strong growth. It's expected to grow its revenue 14% annually on average for the next 3 to 5 years, and that's a decent growth. Many people consider a high growth stock anything growing over 15% annually for the next few years. This one's around that level, so it's definitely one that can be considered a growth stock. Next, I want to take a quick look at their balance sheet. Remember, this is a company that is profitable right now, but they have about $1.5 billion and about $1.6 billion in debt. They almost have a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm considering this a very strong balance sheet due to the fact that they are profitable right now, so they have money to be able to pay off this debt right now. Now let's take a quick look at their valuation. So on my left here, I have Autodesk, and one of the closest competitors in regards to growth and being profitable as well is to my right. And this is Adobe. Even though they're not too much in the similar markets, they are in that software platform. Both are growing in similar levels and both are profitable right now. So I did think this was more of a fair type valuation. First, we can see forward PE ratio for January 22nd of for Adobe Autodesk is sitting at about 44. For that same timeline of things, forward PE ratio for Adobe is 40.11. So we can see they're very similarly priced. One thing I am seeing is look at this forward PE ratio for January 2021 is 61.42, and then it drops to 44.13. So we're seeing a strong growth on Autodesk. If we take a look at forward price to sales ratio, again, it's very similar for both of them. Right now, forward price to sales ratio for Autodesk is about 11.76. So right now, I really do like the valuation. It is priced very similarly to Adobe. And looking at this forward price to sales ratio, it's a lot better than most of these software companies right now. A lot of things, there are many things I like about Autodesk, and the first thing is just the overall market that it's hitting, right? These types of markets are things that we're gonna continue it's gonna continue to grow as more people try to invent and make new things. There's always a new building, a new skyscraper that needs to be built. All right, so next, let's take a look at the second company, and this is NVIDIA, ticker NVDA. But before we go any further, I want to mention one thing to you guys. Down below, you should also see a link down there for 7 Investing. Every month, they recommend 7 stocks for $17 a month. If you use my link or promo code Jose, Jose, you get $10 off the first month. May I say this is an affiliate program, but I use their service and would recommend it to anyone out right now. All right, now that we're done with that, like I mentioned, NVIDIA is the second stock, ticker NVDA. Year-to-date returns have been amazing to investors, so congratulations to everybody holding long. It's almost 110%. It is down right now about 12% from its all-time highs. It's sitting right now at $503, and after hours is up a bit. Market cap right now is 310.85 billion. Might as well have said 311 billion, and they had their earnings in the upcoming weeks, November 18th, so in about 2-3 weeks. So first, let's take a look at what NVIDIA does. So NVIDIA creates GPUs to pretty much run the world. That's the easiest thing. So these GPUs, these graphics processing units, are used for gaming. So a lot of gamers use their heavy cards. They're also used for data centers, and these data centers are used for high power computers and artificial intelligence computing. We also use them for professional visualization. This is actually pretty funny. I didn't even think about this. Remember the previous platform that I talked about, Autodesk? Well, to run Autodesk, you usually need some form of workstation to do that. The graphics cards that NVIDIA makes are those types of workstation graphics cards. They are also in the automotive world where they're using the AI platforms and the power of graphics processing units to create autonomous vehicles, and this is another market they're hitting. And we're going to take a look at the revenue breakdown. So this is definitely a market. My two favorite markets, in my opinion, are the data center and the gaming. These are two markets I am completely bullish on. They're also very, very strong with acquisitions and are being very aggressive with the growth. They just acquired in the past, I think 2 quarters ago, Mellanox, which improved their overall artificial intelligence in the data center. And they recently are going through the process of acquiring ARM that has been approved by the boards, but it still has to go through many other steps before it actually finishes. But again, all these are strong acquisitions the company is doing. If we take a look at the revenue breakdown, their most recent earnings was sometime in August as well. They made about $3.86 billion. Most of it comes from 2 segments. Gaming, which is about $1.65 billion, and data center, which is $1.75. So these two make up about $3.4 billion of that $3.8 billion of revenue. Then we have the other smaller coming from professional. Professional makes up 203 million, auto makes up 111, and OEM and others make 146. We can see as the years progress, as the quarters have progressed, look at this insane growth that the data center has seen. Like I mentioned, this quarter was 1.7. Quarter before that was 1.1. The quarter before that was 0.96. The quarter before that was 0.72. The quarter before that was 6.655. So it's been just strong growth for data center right now. Gaming, it has its ups and downs, but it is pretty strong compared to same time last year. Right now, I mentioned it was 1.65. Same time last year was 1.3. And right now, they just released some great cards that are going off the market. They're very hard to purchase right now. And I think this is one of their biggest leaps in technology that we've seen with the new 3000 series. So I'm seeing the demand for these are pretty huge right now. Now let's take a look at their growth. Very similar to Autodesk, they're pretty much considered a high growth stock. They're expected to grow their revenue 14.8% on average annually for the next 3 to 5 years. NVIDIA is already profitable, and they're expected to continue to grow that revenue and those earnings as time progresses. Next, let's take a look at that balance sheet. The balance sheet for NVIDIA is super strong. They have cash and short-term investments in their most recent earnings of about $11 billion, and they have debt of about $7 billion. So not only are they profitable, but they have a lot more cash than debt right now. A lot has changed with the new acquisitions with ARM, and that's some type of assets we're going to have to look at in their most recent earnings when they report November 18th, I believe I mentioned. But I don't think it's really it's not gonna change much out of their balance sheet. They're still gonna have strong assets compared to liabilities. Now let's take a look at valuation. So on my left, I have NVIDIA, and on my right, I have another growth semiconductor that many people love here, and that's AMD. The first thing we're seeing is forward PE ratio for NVIDIA is 44.13 for the next 2 years. Forward PE ratio for AMD is 41.43. So again, they're pretty much very similarly valued. AMD is a bit cheaper right now, but I think that's because investors believe that NVIDIA has a little more market to hit, especially with that artificial intelligence market that they're really building up. I believe investors are just a little more hopeful on NVIDIA than AMD. I'm not saying AMD is a horrible investment. I am a bull in AMD, but if I was to choose one right now based on the markets they're truly hitting, I think NVIDIA would hit the case, and I believe a lot of investors are agreeing with me in that scenario. So NVIDIA was another one. I'm really liking that data center. I'm really liking the amount of gaming they're doing. But my biggest point on NVIDIA right now is just how aggressive they're being with acquiring companies right now and trying to make sure they continue to grow their overall technology with these acquisitions. The final company we're going to take a look at is NVIDIA. But before we go any further, guys, don't forget to check out my merch, Self-Taught Investor. You should see it down there on the YouTube, under my YouTube video. I have hoodies, shirts, and I thought this was the best type of merch to make because I am a self-taught investor. I've been doing this for the past 5, 6, maybe even 7 years. I don't even remember. Just self-learning how to read balance sheets, how to value stocks, and how to make the best investments for myself. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys watching here are self-taught investors as well. So make sure to check out the merch, and it helps support the channel a lot. I truly, truly appreciate it. All right, so next, the final stock is EA Electronic Arts, ticker EA to all my podcast listeners. They are a video game company right now. Year to date, they have returned only 11.62% to investors. That's actually pretty... I thought it would be a lot higher, and they're down about 18.5% from their all-time highs right now. The video game industry is pulling back a bit, and some things I do believe this is great valuation, especially and I do believe this is a great time right now. I am liking these pullbacks. Right now, we have the involvement of mobile gaming, which EA Arts has such a strong catalog we're going to see that can hit that market. And we're also seeing the new entry of the new systems coming out this upcoming quarter with the new PS5 and the new Xbox. So and their partnership with Microsoft on the cloud gaming. So I do believe there's a lot of growth in the gaming industry, and that's one of my favorite markets, if not my favorite industry right now to invest in. So current price is $119.81. Current market cap is about $34.6 billion. They do report earnings this week on November 5th, so I think that's a Thursday. I might do a video with them when they report. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want me to do earnings on them. So let's take a look at some of their catalogs and what they do. Like I mentioned, they make games, and they actually have rights for a lot of great great names. They have almost all the sports from NHL, FIFA, Madden. They also have UFC. They have the rights to Star Wars right now. They just released the Star Wars Squadron. They have Jedi: The Fallen Order. They also have The Sims, Need for Speed, and they have Command and Conquer, which maybe a lot of OG gamers might remember in those early PC days. They also have a lot of originals like Rocket Arena, and I believe they have Apex as well. So let's take a look at their most recent earnings. Their most recent earnings, we can see quarterly, they made about about $1.4 billion of net bookings. And net bookings they do net bookings instead of revenue. Net bookings are the actual sales made that quarter. And we can see out of that 1.4 billion, 300 million comes from full games. And this is exactly what it means when you go buy a full game from EA. Other 1.1 billion comes from live services, and these are all the DLC packs, these are the skins, the loot boxes, any subscription based, anything you buy on the mobile. This is that, and that's pretty crazy, right? 1.1 billion dollars. And this is why I believe the mobile game is gonna be ridiculous. More people, I feel, buy so much more in their mobile games than they do on their console games, because they're constantly playing and they can play at any time there. So full game is actually up 202% compared to the same time last year, and live services is up 61% compared to the same time last year. Year over year growth for the revenue was about 78%. The company is expected to grow at very slow levels, and unfortunately, I think these might be overestimating, especially with the new consoles coming out. But I do believe I think the reason is there might be a small pullback happening, right? There were so many new games purchased during this whole COVID situation. Now that right now people are being locked down again, so that might continue. But when things come back to normal, if there will be a normal, I do believe that there will be a slowdown in game buying. But right now, with the new consoles coming in, I think we still might see a few growth coming on. But for me, this is more of a long-term game. I think EA is one to hold for multiple years. They're expected to grow their revenue 6.1% on average annually for the next 3 to 5 years. This is not considered a growth stock looking at these numbers, but me personally looking at my data when I do my research in the gaming industry, I believe this might be a bit conservative. EA game is already profitable. Next, let's take a look at their balance sheet. They have all these gaming industries, EA Games, Activision, if I remember, and TTWO, all have a very strong balance sheet. They have about $6.6 billion of cash and short-term investments and less than $1 billion of debt. So they are profitable with the very strong balance sheet, almost over a 6-to-1 cash to debt ratio. Now I wanted to take a look at their valuation. So based on their valuation, to my left I have EA Games, to my right I have Activision. So they're both growing similar levels. They're both kind of profitable. They're both profitable already and have very strong IP. Forward PE ratio for EA is about 20.26 for 2 years from now. Forward PE ratio for Activision is 21.75. We can see, again, they're both valued pretty similarly, and they have dropped down a nice amount ever since their pullback has happened. So these are actually both very attractive for both these companies, and I'm really liking it. So to me, this was another stock to buy. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Like always, make sure to hit the thumbs up. Make sure to let me know in the comments. Take care, guys. Have a good night, and see you next time.